All right, everybody ready? Well, this is great. Love to see a great crowd here tonight. I want to welcome everybody to the first meeting of 2020. It's January 7th, 2020. Official time 6 o'clock. At this time, I'd like to call this meeting to order. I need approval of the agenda.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion. I have a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. It's our pleasure tonight on the invocation of pledge that Terry Moore of the Bradley Baptist Church is going to start us off.
Thank you.
Come on forward to the
Okay.
microphone. Make sure the
I'm not the pastor over there. In fact, they just asked me where I went to church, and that's where I go to church. But I'm proud to be with you. Father, we thank you for the county we live in, Jones County. We thank you for these men, Lord, who provide leadership to our county. And we're reminded, Lord, of your word where it says, when the righteous are in power, the people rejoice. But when the evil bear rule, the people mourn. So, Lord, I pray that you'll just lead these men into the paths of righteousness, that they'll administer this county with integrity and honesty, using every bit of the ability that you've given them. Pray that you'd bless them, Lord. Pray that you'd bless this county. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, undivided, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Moore, I've got you a little, Mr. Moore, I've got you a little something, a little token of appreciation.
Well, thank you. Wait, that's what you need. I'll give you something too. Thank you very much. I'm gonna give you. Thank you very much.
I haven't seen you since last year. Just fine. All right, we move on tonight. We've got consent agenda, approval of minutes. We were busy in December. We had a work session on December 3rd. That was at 2019. We had a joint meeting, county managers at December 3rd. First Tuesdays at December 3rd. We also had a work session on December 4th of 2019. Work session on December 9th, 2019. Call meeting on December 9th, 2019, and also a call meeting on December 13th. If everybody had an opportunity to look over the minutes in this, I'll take a motion to, accept a motion to approve.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any discussion or none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. We have a visitor with us tonight, Ms. Terry Wims. Did I say it right? Not Wine, but Wims. Brookwood Trail. If you'll remember, they came to us on our last meeting about Brookwood Trail, and they got on the agenda to talk about, yes, if you want to come forward.
This is Mr. Davis.
Sure.
He's also on the road.
Sure. Both of y'all come forward. Make sure the mic's on and just introduce yourself again. So,
Testing.
is the light on?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Good evening, Chairman, rest of the commissioners. Basically, we're here on behalf of the Brookwood Trail. We consider it a private road at this time, and we're trying to get it moved to public. We have 4 residents that's on the road that actually has access to get up to the road to their homes, and we also have 2 other residents when you first enter on each side of the road. Basically, we're just looking for an opportunity to maybe turn it to public and see what we need to do to present that to you. So,
Have you had opportunity to look at what would require, I think, in their easement surveys, road standards?
Well, it's something you all, I don't mind looking into it. It
Sure.
does require all of that, but if the county is gonna wanna take on a private road, I mean, it's gonna mean
Right.
another road to maintain and things of that nature, so.
John, you want to elaborate? Anytime we take on a road, it has requirements it's got to meet, correct?
Right,
And
gotta have 60-foot right of way, and needs to be at least 20-foot paved.
right.
yes.
And the reason for that is the county, that their standards as far as way the construction
Right.
takes place, that when the county, like if a subdivision is put in, there's certain standards have to be met in that subdivision before the county would take over those roads.
Yes.
And I'm sure this would require also in this case.
Yeah, and to obtain the right of ways, you know, even if they're given without any sort of cost, there's gonna be the expense associated with recording and drafting of the right of way deeds and things
Okay.
of that nature, so.
Okay, so, I mean, again, we did, get permission from everyone on the road and the other two, so is there anything else that we need to provide for you guys, or other than, I mean, you're saying we have,
The county's gonna have to first decide if it's an expense
Right.
that they really want to go forward. If so,
Right.
then
Yes,
yes,
ma'am.
there'll be, deed work that has to be done and things of that nature.
yes, ma'am, okay.
And we'd be glad to look at it and we can get a list of all the requirements to
Right.
basically see if this road.
Okay.
Because it sounded like you're allowed to divide 3 parcels off of one private drive. That's
Right.
basic
Yes.
county rule. And that's basically, when this area was developed, it sounded like that's what happened here. They used one private drive and paved it, but they divided 3 parcels off that one private drive. It would just basically mean, does that drive meet the requirements?
Okay.
And stuff like that. So it's something we have to look into.
I mean, it's going to need to be considered that there's probably a lot of these types of roads in Jones County. And
Sure.
if you sort of take on one private drive,
Take on the other
it
ones.
opens up,
Sure.
the request for a lot of these private drives to
Understood.
want to be public so that the county then has to maintain. So, I don't know if that's
It would have to be on the actual agenda item if that's something we want to pursue.
right.
Right. But, we're glad to look into it and present it to the board.
Okay, and will we be, I mean, do we have to come back and actually present it again?
If we
or-
got all your contact information.
Okay,
we
yes,
get
sir.
back with you and see exactly what direction we need to go with.
Yes, sir.
It's Brookwood Trail.
Brookwood Trail, it's off Graham Road, just before State.
Have we got, okay, we've got all your contact information, so we can look into it.
Okay.
And we'll actually do it, we can do it formal to the board, if it's something they want to look at.
Okay, at this time, I want to thank you guys for allowing us to come forward and present it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We go to new business tonight. We start off with,
Thank you.
support for the Jones County High School, and Matt Goins is also going to talk on this. We've had opportunity in recent months, the county has, to help the school system through different projects. John, y'all helped them on the parking lot, I think on that one, but they've had some other needs where we helped the cross-country team on the last minute where they needed to get ready for a meet, and then recently on the football field, and I hope the board will continue supporting that type of service. But Mr. Goins is able to attend the meeting. Matt, I'll turn it over to you about some projects coming up, and the city and county and Board of Education were all brought together with Mr. Gibson, and he, go ahead, you want to?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. The meeting was sat into, Mr. Risner actually was able to sit in on that a little late, but he was able to get there after he got through his other tasks. But, so if I misspeak, please correct me. The Board of Education, as you know, between Parks and Recreation has a long-standing relationship where they use some of our facilities, we use some of their facilities, so we have a great intergovernment working relationship. And some of the projects you've spoken to here tonight about the things we've helped them with, such as the extra bleachers, the cross-country trail and sewer system and all that. Well, the meeting that we set forth, held by Mr. Gibson and some of his staff, basically was asking us to come on board and be a partner with them in these upcoming projects. Now, they are not asking for any money. Mr. Gibson was very clear and upfront about that. He is not asking for any money from the Jones County Board of Commissioners. What he is asking us to consider and hopefully come on board with is our services. Right now, there's no clear path on what those services is, or no clear list of what those services are. Some ideas of what those services would be is one, they're going to be hopefully upgrading the visitor side of the bleachers. And we've kind of spoken with John briefly about that, which means there's going to have to be like a 300-foot by 40-foot pad. That's got to be graded and prepped for concrete. They're looking at doing some stuff down and around the track, which is going to require some stormwater drainage. It's going to have to be redirected to other locations than where it's currently flowing. So it's some different projects like that, that heavy equipment and knowledge that we possess with our public works and other staff here in Jones County Board of Commissioners that he's asking for. So they don't have to go out and hire Parrish or someone else to come in and pay them to do it. They can use our experts and our services to help them with that. So there is a cost to the county. Obviously, every time we crank up a piece of equipment, there's a cost to the county, but there's no cash cost to the county. So what they're asking us to do is to come on board as a partner in services that we can give through our expertise, through our equipment, and through our manpower.
Any questions for Mr. Goins? I'll make a comment. Anytime we can help the school board, it's a win for the community because obviously we're not having to pay an outside contractor to do it. So it is a win-win for the community. Anytime if city, county, or board of education can work together, it's a great time that we can help save on tax dollars.
And I will say that without elaborating too deep into details so I don't get those details wrong, they'll be touching a lot of extracurricular activities and sports at the high school, ranging all the way from the FFA cattle barn all the way down to the old pre-K. You know, the whole complex there, they're going to be doing some upgrades throughout the entire thing. And it's going to affect 5 or 6 different extracurricular activities. And so it's a great opportunity for us to not only join with the Board of Education, but also continue to serve our citizens.
Any questions or comments?
I'm all for supporting the school system. We've started the tri-government meetings with the city and the county and the school system, and you know I've always said I don't know why we don't partner more on, especially on athletics and sports and stuff like that. So we just make sure that we have a obligation when it comes to emergency services that we have to put priority on that. So, but I'm all for supporting them and partnering with them any way we can.
Anyone else?
I agree with what Sam said, as long as they have the understanding about the emergencies. I think it's a good thing for us to be doing.
Mr. Martin, anything? Any comment?
I always am a fan of children and youth sports and activities. My challenge is some of the same needs that they have, we have in District 4 that haven't been allocated for the 49 area in terms of trails and reworking spaces that could be used by our citizens. So it'd be a difficult thing for me to support that, knowing that we could have bladed some walking trails and things of that nature, Chairman. So again, I'm a fan of doing what we need to do for youth. It's hard to allocate resources when I know in my district they haven't been allocated.
So I'm just full support of it, Chairman.
We'll have a motion to go forward with our support.
So move, Chairman.
Motion, we have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? No. 4-1.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Community Development Block Grant, Commissioner Pitts?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I think each year we have an opportunity to apply for a community development block grant. And I just don't want to wait until the last minute to bring this up and start the research project. While we're talking about the SPLOST a couple of months ago, we talked about blight. And there's some areas in our districts that have blight. And with this community development block grant, we may be able to address some blight. And I'd ask that we work with Tim Ingram and the Regional Commission to identify those areas that we need to address, so we'll have time to put together a good application so that hopefully we'll be awarded the funds that we can continue to enhance, Jones County as a whole. So I just don't want to wait until the last minute and not apply for those grant funds.
Sure. Any questions for Commissioner Pitt? I guess we need that in form of a motion to.
So, Mr. Chairman, I ask that Jason works with Tim Ingram and the Regional Commission to start the application process so that Jones County can apply for the upcoming Community Development Block Grant.
I have a motion, I have a second? Second. Any more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Any opposed? All ayes, thank you. Purchase of mini excavator. Mr. Lowe? Project you've been working on.
Yep. Always getting something for somebody else.
You getting two
I was
trucks
gonna say,
for
who's
Jeffrey
this
too?
for?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Aren't you getting Jeffrey's trucks too?
That's what I heard, anyway. I think I done read these bids one time, but I got another one here from Flint on a, it's a 60G. It might be a little bit bigger than the 305, and the price on it is $66,165.21. And the 305, E2, whatever that's supposed to mean, it's about the same size machine, same equipped stuff on it. It's $64,986. And Jeffrey said that they like the Cat better than, I mean, they ain't even tried a John Deere, but we tried out the John Deere. Chuck Lloyd back there ran it over there behind the courthouse. I got on it and ran it a little bit. My opinion, I like the Cat better. And I know the John Deere man's back there probably stabbing me in the back right now.
You know, I wear a John Deere hat everywhere I go, so that's all right.
Need to turn it around backwards.
But y'all like Ford and I like Dodge, so you know, that's all right. Commissioner Kitchens, you got too big a smile on your face for me not to call on you.
No, I think that, you know, the price is indicative of the, what they're looking for. So, I mean, I think the lower price is the Cat, right? It's the 305. 60 G's, John Deere.
You wanna do that as a motion?
Yes, sir. Make a motion, we take the recommendation of a 305E for 64.9.
We have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. You gonna work on Jeffrey's trucks while you're there?
Is that a recycling center?
Well, next is the recyclable stuff, ain't it?
Yeah, you
Yes.
got recycle. I was just gonna pick at you about the truck while you're there. Since you're on
I'll
the
stay
road.
up here, don't matter to me.
Recycle center update, Mr. Lowe.
I know me and Jason talked to, two fellows the other day, in Macon, and it was about cardboard, and he's supposed to be coming out and getting with me and see what we can do. And we talked to, Schnitzer, wasn't it Schnitzer? About the aluminum cans. We would have to put some of them cans at the, but they gotta be clean when they go down there. And that's my only concern. Cause somebody be done threw a bag in there with trash in it, and they might have aluminum cans in it too, you know. And then they gonna turn us around. Or either we'll dump it out down there, and then we have to carry something down there to load it back up. So,
Do you guys know what the city fire department is doing? Because I know they're recycle cans. And do you know the organization they're working with? Could we partner with them maybe?
I don't have a clue. I think they fill that trailer up, they got that little
Hey,
trailer, and
we
they,
got somebody,
they take it somewhere.
Mr. Wood can
John.
elaborate on that, if you don't mind letting him.
I don't care.
Great, we got an
Yeah, and
in-house
James. here, too.
professional on where the cans are going.
Captain Wood with City of Gray Fire. For many years, City of Gray has partnered with Southeastern Firefighters Burn Association out of Augusta, Georgia. And you're right, the cans have to be clean when they go down there. And 100% of that goes in there for aluminum goes to that charity. So we don't take out anything for our gas going down there. 100% of the cans, the money received for the cans, go for Southeastern Firefighters Burn Association.
So I don't see why we,
It's a good cause.
right, so I don't see why we can't, so it's not end up in our landfills, partner with this organization, so there's benefiting that organization and, like I said, saving room in our landfills and being a good steward of the environment.
Yeah. Did they,
They get the best price. And it's either Schlitzer or Newell, one of the two, whoever's paying the best.
John, who physically puts the container and then picks up the cans and take them down there? Is it fire department or do they
We have a cage trailer.
They got a caged little trailer.
Right, it's got a set of steps.
Because my thought is, if we're gonna do this and benefit from it, we're gonna need something at each convenience center
Right.
so that we can, do people bring, because I've had a lot of people call me and say, look, at least let us put the cans in something, because that's throwing good money away. And I agree, even if we don't, if we're gonna have to do it ourselves, or we're gonna do something like that, I would suggest that we do something where we benefit a nonprofit or some kind of charity, even if it's not that particular one, but if there's some charities that would put out, or somebody that would take the ball and run with it and put a container at each site and pick the cans up so that they could benefit from it.
And they may have some more trailers that they can put at various
Right.
convenience centers, the busiest convenience centers like Overland Way and maybe Haddock, some of the more.
Because that takes all the
Used
cost
area.
off of us, but we don't waste
Right.
a potential
Right.
resource.
Okay.
Another Jim has some.
Oh, we got,
I'm not on the agenda, but I originally called you about this issue with aluminum,
yes.
okay? And it's nice to be able to give stuff away to charity, but you've got a valuable resource here. I mean, this stuff is worth 35 cents a pound. And recycling aluminum only uses 1/10 of the energy of developing, smelting uranium bauxite, aluminum from bauxite. So it's really terrible to throw away aluminum, to bury it in the ground. It'll never decay, and I'm not a tree hugger, okay? But it only makes sense. You've got a resource here that people will pay you for. You see people out on the side of the road picking up aluminum cans to supplement their income because they're valuable. I mean, I don't think you have to give it to a charity. I think that if you'll recycle it, even if you have to do something to hose it off or something, you're gonna make more money than burying them. And you'll save that burial facility for stuff we need. Excuse me.
Well, thank you very much.
I mean, could we get our guys at the recycle, when somebody pulls up that one, make sure what's going in there?
You're gonna have to, because they don't, I'm sure they don't have a cull system, so I sure hate to see a truck go down there. I mean, it's gonna have to be clean.
That's what I'm talking about.
We can try that if you want to, but I mean, with all due respect, I don't know of anybody that makes a living picking up cans, because the cost benefit to the amount of service and the amount of dollars that we're going to put into it, between the labor hours, the hauling cost, and the first time we take a whole load down there and they turn us around and we got to go back and get it, we've probably lost 3 months worth of revenue.
That's what I'm afraid of.
So if we want to do it and we think that our manpower can make sure that it's clean cans only going into this, and then it goes into our general fund, that's great. I honestly think we're going to get a bigger benefit if we don't touch it and we don't have any cost in it. And we still doing something worthwhile, letting a charity or some kind of, some kind of company benefit from it.
You could let us, let the ones that are throwing it away, let us have responsibility. And if they bring it down themselves, tell them to take it home and bring it back whatever it is.
I think, Mr. Wood, don't y'all take the cans down there yourself?
Yes, sir.
They do.
Yeah.
We do have to make sure they're all out of the bags.
Right.
And we do have people put tin cans, like Campbell soup cans in, and they'll turn you around for that.
So
You
you
gotta make sure that's out of there before you.
Is there any way we could advertise about, I mean, like he talking about the other cans? How come they can't separate them and put them in our metal can?
Yeah.
that we
Because
take
Campbell
off?
soup cans are recycled.
Oh, that's what I know.
In a scrap heap. Yeah. It's obviously something to look into. We just need to figure out what's gonna be the best route.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would ask if, John, if you don't mind, maybe work with John and to determine if they do have additional trailers that we could put at other convenience centers. So at least it's an option that's on the table as we research what's going to be the best cost-benefit analysis for us. So if John will do that research and work with John, then we'll know if that's an option as we explore other options to try to recycle the aluminum to the best of our ability.
Well, hey, I got another question.
Sure.
The cans that we were doing the single stream stuff in, I got 4 centers I would like to cut the tops off of them and lower them down as the same level as a 30-yard can.
We can't use them for, I mean, they couldn't be used for nothing else, recyclable?
Uh,
I'm just asking before we take a recycled can and make it, you know, make it a refuse
mean,
can.
They could. I mean,
I'm
it's
just-
just
I'm
a
just-
bigger can, you know.
John, wasn't that when we were trying to recycle glass and trying to
Yes.
separate everything,
Yes,
and the glass didn't work out? because
plastic either.
The same thing,
Yeah.
if you had a different color
Right.
bottle in there, they'd send the whole load back. That's when newspapers went in one, magazines in one, plastic, glass, and so forth.
Yeah, and they stopped all of that, you know, years ago.
It's not, never ended battle as far as, you know, on recycling.
But we got 8 of them cans that was around. Some of them are still sitting out there at the sites, but I'd like to have one I could put at Overland, or Extra Can, Garrison, Highway 11, and Haddock. Cause that seems like the ones that get hit the most, cause Upper River Road's got plenty of cans up there, and Rock Creek. And I think the rest of them do too.
I look at it, if they're not serving a purpose in their current state, I'd say if we can, do something to them to
Use them.
use them, that's fine with the board.
Maybe use one for our recycling day that we gotta get working on.
Oh, I got some other cans for that.
Okay. Well, just for the record, y'all mind giving me a motion to let him to, recycle some of our recycled cans for other purposes?
I mean, we'll still have 4 left that I'm not gonna fool with. I'm just gonna do 4.
I think it's an administrative decision. I don't think we need a motion on it. It wasn't on the agenda.
That's fine, however you wanna handle it, it'll be fine. You,
Chairman,
Jason,
give a directive, Chairman.
give a directive, Jason. You can handle this one, great. I just didn't wanna overstep your abilities, how's that? You got our blessings, how's that?
Sounds good. We just didn't want to make that call without
I got you, well.
Right.
talking to y'all.
See, I knew I was going the right direction to start with. 2020's gonna be a great year.
I hope so. Hope it's better than 2019.
Yeah.
Y'all have a good one.
Thank you.
Mr. Pelkey, you're needing 2 trucks. Johnson sat down, so it sounded like you're out of luck.
Give it a shot. Good evening.
Good evening.
We do want to thank John and Public Works for the mini X. It's going to be a blessing, and you know, they've always been a blessing to the department in many ways. So I just want to say thank you. Yes, and I am here before the board just to get the approval to purchase 2 pickup trucks. We have a Chevy Silverado that's 13 years old. It's got 272,000 miles, and a 2006 Ford 150 that's got 14 years. And they're the oldest of the fleet, and I'd like to just get them replaced.
How many miles on the Ford? About 100,000.
272,942. So,
Dodges are good up to 400,000, just be looking at.
yeah. We haven't purchased any pickup trucks for several years, so these are the oldest, so just like to get them replaced.
Have you gotten to Levita as far as?
I was sat with Jason on the funding.
So as we were working through the budget process, there was, Jeffrey had the 2 trucks on his list of special requests. And at the end of the budget process, the budget that was approved for water fund included, it was $80,000 for special projects. And the entire $80,000, I think, was related to some of the work at Deer Run and one other project, I think, a bar screen at River North. And so money for the trucks wasn't allocated. There was surplus money still, still sitting there. What we always do at the end of the budget process in the water fund is to get it to balance. If there's, say, 200,000 surplus, we'll reduce the water charges revenue line item by 200,000 to get it to balance. And so I think there was certainly a surplus still there. What we would need to do in this case would be to, if you approve the purchase of the trucks, I would also encourage you to do a budget amendment to allow us to adjust the budget. And we would just up the water charges revenue line item and then add the expense line item for the vehicles, and you'd still be balanced there.
Any questions, comments?
How about maintenance? I mean, have we tracked the maintenance cost on these trucks higher than, at one point, we had a list of our vehicle asset, and we were looking at, prioritizing which ones were the worst and the first to go and that kind of stuff. Are we still doing that, and did they make the grade? I mean,
What I want to develop is a vehicle replacement plan. I think I talked about it a couple months ago, and where you have certain criteria that are set, and when you reach that criteria, it's time to replace. I haven't done that yet, and I'm not sure about the maintenance costs on these. Do you know of
Well,
the last year or so?
We've already had the engine rebuilt a couple years ago on the Ford, and the Chevy. We've
Chevy's
had,
still going strong,
the
all right?
Chevy's going, but it's burning oil pretty good. So it's still going.
It's an old man's dream. Every Chevrolet I ever had loved oil. Well,
Oh.
it's up to, we have a motion to approve a purchase. Any more comments, questions?
What about SPOS?
I think it's pretty well,
Yeah.
the water department's boss is pretty well tapped out.
How about John's?
Well,
Love John.
we do.
Thoughts, motion, comment?
And maybe I
Think
missed
about it.
this. Who's using, what are we using?
Oh, slow motion today.
Yeah, they are. These trucks are replacing trucks that are currently used to do what?
Maintenance. They're on the maintenance team.
Okay. And is our maintenance team fully staffed at this point?
Yes.
Okay. I was curious. I know you were working on something.
Yeah, we are now.
Okay.
How many pickups do you have?
Let's see, we got 5. And these are the oldest of the fleet.
How many people work out in the field?
6. We have the meter reader involved in that too.
So,
In the maintenance field, then we got a plant operator.
did you say 6 people out in the field? Are we disposing of these trucks after we buy new ones, or will we have 7 trucks for 6 people?
Well, what we do with these is probably just auction them off and, put them at the auction.
Entertain a motion, y'all want to think about it?
It appears to be a lot of thought being taken into it, Chairman.
And I'm struggling only because we had a water project that we wanted to do. It was about 160 grand, I think, for sewer, and we couldn't do that. And I'm going sewer versus trucks in my mind, so I'm struggling here.
Well, when these guys get in these trucks, I worry when they're going down the road and you see the things smoking and rattling, and it's just like,
You think it's a Dodge, right?
What's that?
You think it's a Dodge when you see that happening?
Well, no, I just see him. I just see him as something that's maybe not.
Say what
the
you think.
safest.
Chairman can't make a motion.
All I can do is ask for it.
Jeffrey, if they're not safe, they need to be parked. That shouldn't be on the road.
Well, I mean, I don't have any other option to get
No, yeah,
something to.
If it's not safe, you don't use it.
Well, I mean, they just need to be replaced, to be honest with you. I mean, honestly, they do. I mean, they're the oldest of the fleet, and we haven't purchased any vehicles in years. So, I mean, we don't have a lot of vehicles at the water department. I mean, we have what we have, and
And I'm going to lean with Sam on this one. maintenance, because I know we talked about this at one point, looking at the maintenance and the replacement. I know he was working on a vehicle replacement plan. If they're not functional, we know that some vehicles, they've been repairing. I think the last one was like 8,000, 17,000. That's a little different than just burning oil. A quart of oil is $3, and if I'm burning a quart of oil a month, I mean $36 a year.
We're putting a quart of oil in a week.
So about $150 a year.
I'll do what you ask, but I mean, I'm gonna have to sink a lot of money into an old vehicle, just to keep it going. So I guess you gotta weigh out the maintenance of it and.
$275,000 is a lot, and 14 years is a long time on a maintenance vehicle. And coming from the maintenance side of things, I have some sympathy for them. I'll make the motion, Chairman.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any more discussion?
I've got some. I don't think we need to buy any more vehicles, period, until we get this maintenance schedule and the records and all of that set up. I'll go along with this one, but I don't really like it. 5 trucks and 6 people, that's a lot of trucks. But the thing that Jason was talking about, truck replacement, which one needs it worse. John may have some in worse shape, we don't know.
I got some that's a lot older.
Chairman, before we vote, Jason, how long do you think it would take to get that list and get us?
I can probably bring you back something at the next meeting. I can find a template from somewhere else and try to modify it to fit our purposes and bring it back in a couple of weeks.
Do you want to just table it?
Yeah, Chairman, I would rescind my motion to table until the next meeting.
I second that.
Okay.
All right, all in favor for tabling?
Aye.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank
We'll
you.
look at it next meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
That way it gives us more time to look at it and figure out exactly what our needs are and give Jason an opportunity to put together. Hey, thank you.
For clarity, is he doing that in just water department, or he's doing that countywide?
Countywide.
Okay, making sure.
Number 7 tonight is our customer service policy. Ms. Wagner?
A few meetings back, Commissioner Pitts had brought up that a policy needed to be made for customer service and values. So this is what I put together for y'all. It gives a timeline on how long, you should take to get back with people on complaints or questions, and it breaks down the response standards and procedures, even with phone calls, emails, letters. And I think it, is a way to hold our employees accountable when it comes to dealing with the public.
Motion to approve.
May the attorney speak.
I've reviewed this, great job, but there are a few things that I think need to be added. At the bottom there, page 22 of 24, the policy is not intended to cover. I think we need to add in legal matters involving ongoing or potential litigation.
Okay.
You don't want an opposing party or, someone calling and asking questions and expecting a return answer on potential litigation or ongoing litigation. The other thing is there's several under response standards there at the top of page 23. And we give the same timeline on the top of the next page that a response will be provided within 1 business day. If you have someone that calls like the front desk and that is the sweetest, okay, I don't know her name, she's a sweetheart. Say she's at home sick that day, and you've got someone trying to cover her position and cover their position, or if you have someone that emails Leslie in Jason's office and she's out that day and doesn't check her email for 2 days when she gets back. I think 1 business day.
Okay.
That we're requiring a response within 1 business day is awfully strict if,
So we can strive for it, but like you said, I guess under certain.
If you want to leave 1 business day, I think in all of those spots, you need to say or as soon as
possible.
Yeah. just, you don't want one of your employees there to be an issue that they haven't responded within one business day if, you know, they're out or it goes to someone else and doesn't get to them. And, I think that would be the main issue, or those one business days. And then adding in the legal matters that are on litigation.
Okay.
I like that it says when possible too, that, you know, because that's, you might get one at 4:30 in the afternoon and you transfer it to somebody else, they're gone, then, you know, that day, you don't get it.
Yeah, well, the one business day requirement is in there, I think, 3 times, Shannon.
Yeah.
And that's just, I mean, that's great, but that's all lofty if you've got someone out on vacation or out sick or.
Well,
Are we referring to solving their problem or just responding?
Responding.
That's an acknowledgement of
It
the
is-
problem.
Got it.
It's acknowledging, but if you have someone email, I'm gonna use Leslie for an example, and she's out on a 3-day vacation, then nobody's really checking her email. And so, you know, you're either gonna have to make it where you've got a sort of backup employee that's checking someone's email if they're out on vacation or out sick, which could create problems.
Yeah.
My concern is that that becomes a crutch for us, and typically, if somebody's out, there's a forwarding email, right? We say, hey, out of office, you know,
Usually there is.
reach this person. And I think internally, we need to implement a policy that says, I'm out of the office, here's the person to contact, or press 0 to reach, you know, the next person, so that a problem doesn't go on for a week if they're out on
Right, without it being
vacation.
resolved.
Yeah, so internally, I support this. Externally, and then internally, we need to fix that too. If we're out, because we are a small county, and I don't think we get 100 complaints a day anywhere, do we? 50?
Hope not.
25? I think it's reasonable to respond in a day, but I also want us to make sure that, again, press 0, I'm out of the office. And most people are pretty good with their out of office. I've only had one that was like backdated a couple months. I'll let you know who that was later.
But I mean, there may be times where even their backup is sort of, can be a little overwhelmed. I mean, you leave one day, certainly, y'all can do whatever you want to, but I'd have maybe a provision or add in there, or as soon as reasonably possible. Just,
So that if the case is Jason can evaluate it, they called me and I was on vacation and I didn't call back for 2 weeks, then I could be written up for something like that, you know what I mean? But if I was out for 3 days and I did follow up the next day I came back to work, then maybe that's acceptable. Even the goal is to reply back sooner, but, you know, you got some leeway of how you want to discipline employees, you know, going forward. And sure, I want to thank Shannon so much for putting this policy together and thank the commissioners for their points to make it better, as well as our attorney for making it better, because that's the goal. You know, with our county, we want to make sure that our citizens their concerns are being heard and we're addressing their concerns. We're communicating with them. And I think that's the big thing. A lot of times they don't feel like they're being communicated with. They don't understand exactly what we're doing or how we're doing it. But with this policy right here, we're going to keep you informed of what we're doing, how we're doing it, and just trying to meet your needs to the best of our ability. So hopefully we can make those adjustments, Mr. Chairman, and put on the agenda for next week, and then we can vote on it at that time.
Any comments from our department heads? I'm just curiosity, because this is going to be, is you see any problems with this or any concerns? Just to reach out to y'all, because this, you know, if y'all saw any problems with it, you know, y'all there every day handle these, make sure we're not overlooking something. All right, so if we put that on the next, with the changes, we'll
Right.
vote on it then.
Thank you again, Shannon.
Thank you, Ms. Wagner. No old business. Let's go to department heads. Let's start up. Mr. Risen, you want to start off department heads for a change?
Yes, sir. Just one quick thing. I wanted to mention that over the holidays, we had some issues with comp time that came up for supervisory personnel, and we do have the salary study going on right now. Part of what those consultants are looking at is the total compensation for employees, and we'll certainly make sure that they take a good look at comp time and let us know if we need to make any changes to our policies and practices there.
Okay.
Well, with that, can we get an update roughly when study may be complete?
It's, right now, we're still in the, I'm still giving them information. It's a lot of data I'm having to give them. So that's where we're at right now with me giving them the information they're needing.
Are we on our timeline that we,
Um,
when we put it out for bid, they give us a,
It's pushed back from the holidays and from the amount of information I'm having to give them.
people know that when they bid though. They know when the holidays are and they know how much it takes to,
Yeah.
so, I thought there was a timeline attached to it. I've just seen these things drag out and they give all kind of excuses why, but, we had a timeline on the bid and they won the bid partly based on timelines, and I think we need to hold them to it. I mean, our employees are waiting to find out what's going on, and we budgeted based on that report. We're needing that report.
Okay.
Absolutely.
While we're up here, either one of you two young ladies got any questions or comments tonight?
I have one thing that I noticed the other day when I was in Baldwin County that I'll just note it. I've noticed it twice going to court in Milledgeville. And I don't know if we do this, I've never seen it in Jones, but they had two huge signs that said SPLOST project, your dollars at work. And it caught my attention both times. It was two separate locations, and I thought, oh, that's a SPLOST project, just because it was just going through all the SPLOST meetings. And it was so effective to me. I don't live in Milledgeville, but just to say, oh, that's,
SPLOST dollars are
actually
going.
the money's being used to build this or that, and it had on the sign what was coming. And I just thought that was a great idea just for the citizens, when we do the courthouse renovations or something to be considered.
noticed.
So the citizens see, oh, that's
That's
what this
possible,
money's
goes
actually
to.
used for, because it's easy for them to just sort of forget why they voted on this and what,
What those funds
what
are
the money
going.
goes towards.
I think we have done that. I don't know if it's been a routine thing for us, but at least on the library project, we did have a sign out there that said, and maybe some other places too. Yeah, that's a good thing to do.
All right. Ms. Wagner, you got anything? Mr. Lowe?
I mean, what Jason brought up about the holiday and then somebody working and I know Sam, me and him talked about it. That's my only concern.
Sure.
Is that.
And I talked with him too about it, and I also had a question of how that worked.
What was that?
Yeah, I was just wanting to know, Chris, it was me that worked. I mean, I actually had 16 hours taken from me
Okay.
for that Saturday and Sunday packing trash on the Christmas weekend. And I don't understand how that worked. I mean, I realized we were given 2 8-hour days during the week, but I actually worked and I was on call, so I had my phone on my side, so I'm working those days too.
Right.
And then,
Where
That's
you
next
also
up
work
from you.
Thursday, and that was a
Yeah.
holiday.
I mean, so it's like I had 27 hours comp time. Nope, can't have that. We're taking 16 hours of those away, you're only getting 11. So I work Saturday and Sunday for free.
You might want to also,
I mean, it was,
in consideration about emergency situations too, like ice storms and stuff we had.
it was basically I worked, for nothing,
Like I said,
because the 16 hours were taken from me.
Well, Chairman, I'm just gonna put my opinion out there publicly, because we have talked about this, and I talked to Jason about it.
Right.
And I don't know if we do need to investigate, because there is some state law that tells us what we can and can't do, but there's also county policy that can be changed if needed to be changed. But I want to be real clear that if we are voting in this board to have employees paid to be off, and we ask them to come in and do something, they should be compensated for it, because if not, then the ones that we voted to say, yes, we're going to pay you for a holiday, everybody that don't come in gets a benefit that the ones that do come in don't get. So, however, we need to figure that out. If somebody has to work, whether it's a storm, whether it's an emergency, whether you get called in, or whether it's a need that arises while you happen to be off, that's the policy I'd like to see, make sure we clear up. Not to be confused with if state law says it, if you're a supervisor or you're an exempt employee or you're an hourly employee, there's a lot of those rules that are not policies that the county can change, and I understand that. I just want to make sure that we are doing what, if we're voting to have a day off, that those employees are getting the same benefit that the ones that got the day off get.
I understand, like I said, I talked with John also, and
Hey, what if there's a hourly guy that works on the weekend, and you got a holiday, and they cut his time? I mean, what's going on with that? I don't understand that either. Cause I got one guy, he said he ain't working no more on the weekends because of that.
That's not all the time that happens to him. It happens when the
It
policy.
happens when there's a holiday.
Right, so that's not all the time, so he's
No,
not getting it
it's not
taken
all the
away all
time.
the time. What happens is if he's not physically working 40 hours like the policy says, that's when it happens. When you physically work the 40 hours.
But with me being on call, I'm not physically working, but I'm
Right, there's a
dedicated to
whole
the
nother
county.
policy for
Yes.
on-call
I'm
situation.
dedicated to y'all. If that phone rings, I got to go, so I can't do what I want to do. I have to
Right.
abide by that, you know.
And there's a whole separate policy for on-call
So-
situations.
So we just need to look into, I don't know if we need to have a work session or just Jason and Shannon review it and maybe report back to the board. Maybe some recommendations of what other communities are doing so that we can maybe revamp our policy to make sure that our employees are getting paid, especially, if they're working if it interferes with any type of comp time or any type of holiday. So that's asking Mr. Chairman and Shannon and Jason can work together, maybe research something, report back to the board, some recommendations, so we can update our policy if necessary.
I'm okay with that, but again, I support Sam, because a lot of times I'm that guy that's asking for that day off, and the intention is for you to be compensated when you're off. And if you have to work, even though we're paying you to be off, then you should be compensated, as Sam said. So I don't want them to not get paid while we research this. So let's figure that out pretty quickly. Whoever, if it's them to resolve it, but let's get them paid because they earned it.
Yeah, if it's a policy issue, we ought to be able to need to change that. And I'll go on record saying comp time is just, it's so confusing and it's so, I don't like it. I don't like comp time. I think you either swap it out in the 2 weeks that if you get paid every 2 weeks, swap it out within that 2 week period as a flex time or get paid for it. Simple as that.
I think the comp time, it would be easier if we got rid of it and did a flex time policy.
Well, I think there was, before my time, some litigation in the past regarding comp time issues, so it could potentially help the county avoid litigation in the future.
A lot of
because it
counties have
is-
done away with comp time.
Because it is sort of a slippery slope and confusing.
So that's the direction that we're going and move to this flex time. I said, get them paid, but like I said, let's go and make that change and move in another direction.
I see some citizens, I'm gonna give you an opportunity in just a minute on some citizens' comments when I get through my department head. Anything else, Mr. Lowe?
That's it.
Like I said, we're looking into it, I promise you would. Mr. Pelkey?
Yes, every 3 years, the department gets inspected by the EPD. It's called a sanitary survey, and the Haddock community and then the main system here this was the third year, and so we were inspected just a couple of weeks ago, and Haddock was about a month ago, and it's quite extensive inspection. It's 22 pages long, and they check everything, and it takes a good 8 hours just to inspect your equipment, and they come back and check your record keeping. They don't give you a grade, but they put you in a category, and both the Haddock and the Jones County Water System, they consider an outstanding performer, so that's, we did very well on it, so.
Great job, Jeff.
Congratulations.
Good deal. Mr. Goins?
Yes, sir, I got a couple things. Try to make my time here valuable. What I'm showing you here is a layout I've been working with Tri-County on for the North Bank Recreation Complex parking lot. As you know, it's a big gravel, oh, I made enough of these. Don't mind, Jason, let me steal yours.
Yeah.
I have been speaking with Mr. Jason about it. It's been working on this with Tri-County for a little while. Actually, I'll pass these pictures around a little bit. Hold on this one. So what you see of the black dots there is where light poles would be. As you know, asphalting that parking lot is over $1 million project. And so been working with trying to figure out how to structure parking in that parking lot and illuminate that parking lot to maintain safety for kids and families transitioning from the lower older park to the upper newer park and get through the parking lot. John did come out last year, Public Works, and put a walkway through there. We did add a couple lights to illuminate that, but we still have some issues. Picture you're looking at there is a picture that Tri-County came out and flew with their drone one night about 7 o'clock, and you're able to see how some of the people are parking. I don't know exactly what night this was, so I can't really tell you what activity was going on, whether it was football and soccer or just soccer or football. But it was during soccer football season. So what the black dots are representing is where I and Tri-County has decided the best place to put light poles. Basically, you would have a light pole standing with 2 LED arms going off each side. What this would do is structure parking so that you would try to visualize the parking lot for me. You would have a car facing the newer park, all right, and then you would have 2 passing lanes, and then you would have cars facing each other where lights are going down through there illuminating that, and then you would have a passing lane, 2 more, another row of cars facing each other, a passing lane, and then a row of cars facing the older section of the park. So you basically illuminate that parking lot and allow organized traffic to flow in and out with the proper ingress and egress of the parking lot. I'm going to show you this other picture for the other side here in just a second. The reason I kept it on here because I got the dollar value written down. There is an increase. Right now we're paying roughly about $485, $490 a month in electricity for what our existing lights are. To add all these poles, we're looking at $4,200 one-time fee. That's to get all the poles installed by Tri-County and in place, wire ran and everything. And then our monthly bill would go up from right at $500 to just right at $900. All right, that is an increase in budget. I do understand that. But what I'm looking at there, this is the other part of the parking lot you can see. And you can see the dark spots there. Again, the concern I have is not if, but when we have a accident where kids transitioning from one half to the other, or around cars moving in and out of the parking lot. Again, there's no organized parking. Basically, when the first car parks in the gravel parking lot, they set the tone for the rest of them. So you can only hope the first 3 cars park like they should, because the next 100 are going to follow suit. So this right here, by adding these poles, we will come in and dig a footer between the poles, going the length of the parking lot, and then we would put in curb stops or parking stops, which I've been working with Mr. Wendell on getting. And so you would basically create an organized parking lot out of a gravel parking lot. And so I'm not here to ask you to vote. This is not an agenda item tonight. What I'm here tonight is just informing you on what I'm going to be coming back for, to give you time, give you food for thought. And then if you got any questions, pass them to me or through Jason, and I'd be glad to try to answer them for the next meeting. But this is something that'll be coming on the next agenda, asking for approval to see where we can go from there. So I just want to put that out there tonight for food for thought on something we're working on with the parking lot.
Quick question, Matt. On the current lights, how many lights do we have that we're paying $480 for?
There's probably about a dozen.
Okay, because this one's about 20 lights, and it costs us almost the same amount.
Right.
Solar lighting, is that an option to help reduce that electric bill? It's $1,000 for that parking lot. Seems like a lot to me on a monthly basis.
I can check into it. I don't know the answer right offhand. Do you know by chance?
Well, there's a way to do it. You would just have to look at the kilowatt usage you're going to need for the lights and where's the closest. I mean, the good part of it is we've got land around there to put some solar panels up there. So that's definitely an option, and I was going to mention that too. But yeah, because I'm did the same back of the envelope you did. We're talking $25 a light. I mean, I can get a light in my yard for $6 a month.
Absolutely.
You know, and,
I mean, he did say that we could go to the old style lights and be cheaper, but these are the LED version, the newer version of lights. Again,
it's just a different rate
Right.
because you're using less energy, so. Yeah, you know.
And we've been parking in that gravel parking lot, I don't know, for decades now.
I agree.
You know.
And again, you know, this is just, it's something that I've been looking at. I'm all for, you know, doing it as cheap as we possibly can, because obviously it's money out of my budget. But again, I do also want to focus on the fact that I do look at it as a not if, but when an accident's going to happen because of the dark spots, and you know, that's the concern.
So these lights are only be on when a function's happening at the park?
No, they come on at dark and go off at daylight. Like the ones we currently have now, that's what they do. They turn themselves on and off.
Even when nobody's there and nobody's playing. So, I am curious, because we know from solar applications, you know, for $65,000, you get almost an 18 kilowatt system that runs a house, and all the stuff, and lighting is at best used between what the hours of 4:35 and maybe 9 max in that park. At a
I mean, we could, I'm all for going back and looking at tying them into our power source, because, you know, we have an employee that works that turns the field lights on, so he could just as well turn the parking lights on and turn the parking lights off, same as he does the field lights.
Yeah, if you don't have any security reason to have them on, yeah, we're wasting 60% of the energy having them on, because we're never gonna play after midnight
Right. I'll go back with Tri-County then and look at a turn on, turn off system and see if we can lower that price. All right. Second thing, update on the restroom or as some have referred to it as convenience center at the special needs playground or inclusive playground. The structure's up. The majority of the work on the interior side is done. All the exterior is done. Today they poured the new concrete slab. For those that you wasn't aware, they tore up the old concrete slab that was under that pavilion because it had some massive cracks that was in it. They completely tore that out, re-poured it today, tied the sidewalk into the bathroom and the playground, so all that's tied back in together. And met with the water department today to start working on the water line. And sewers in, septic tanks in. Tri-County is hopefully come out by the end of the week to run the power source to the building. So we are very, very close. I know this project was originally scheduled to be done a couple months ago. But again, when you're asking someone to do something for free, you kind of have to, you know, give them a little leeway to do it in their own time frame. And I will say that T.J. Heath and Brandon Burgess with Landmark Construction has done a fantastic job and been really great to work with. And so we're really, really close to finishing that project. Last thing is Keith Roberts is hoping to get started this week. The last piece of equipment was delivered today to start the light upgrade for Morris Bank. Y'all approved that several months ago also. There was an issue with getting the lights because they were coming out of China and then the tariffs happened. So anyway, all that's behind us now. Lights came in damaged. So then we had to reach back out, not we, Keith Roberts had to reach back out to the manufacturer in China, got all the proper parts in, everything's good to go, so now we're ready for installation. He's hoping to have all those lights upgraded by the middle of next week. So just a quick update on where we at on the projects.
Before you sit down, do you mind? Regarding the acre and a half
Mr. Holloway?
gift from Mr. Holloway for the Morris Bank recreation sign. I was in touch with him right before Christmas, and he wanted, generally, I would draft sort of a deed of gift. He would sign that, gifting it over. You all would vote to accept that, and then I would just sort of issue him a letter thanking him for the deed of gift that he could use for his tax purposes, and he would assign a value to that. He wants an appraisal of it to use for tax purposes instead of just sort of assigning a value, and wants the county to pay for that. And so I told him that's not something I certainly could approve that, and it would need to go on an agenda. So I don't know if you've heard back from him.
I hadn't.
And if we have a certain appraiser that we would want to use, he mentioned in his email that he was going to get in touch with
his appraiser, but we don't know that what, you know, what rate that would be at. And so I don't know if it's something that, you know,
Put on the next agenda.
you want to
Yeah.
touch base with him and
I
see
will-
if he's gotten a cost for what that appraisal would be and put that on the next agenda.
Yes, ma'am, I'll do that, and I'll get with Jason tomorrow, next couple of days, to find out if there's somebody we use locally, so I'll do that. I'll get with Shannon, get on the next agenda.
Do we have the will to pay for an appraisal or any? I thought the last discussion was we didn't care to pay for it. I mean, we're taking it off the tax digest, so that's gonna be a
loss.
a loss to us from now on, and a gain to him for not paying the taxes on it. I mean,
I just told him that's not a decision that I could
Yeah.
make, that if that was his request, it would need to be placed on an agenda for you all to determine.
And what is normal and customary? Do we typically just give the deed of gift and let them assign a value? No different than walking into Goodwill with your bags, right?
Right.
That's between him, God, and the IRS.
He said he spoke, in his email, it says he spoke with his accountant, and, he needs to have
A
the,
licensed appraiser, I guess.
yeah, an appraisal done on the property, and would expect the county to pay for that if he were gifting the land, and I said that is beyond my authority and would need to come before the board.
I mean, I don't,
he needs a different accountant.
I mean, there's no way it's worth a lot. I mean, I'm just being honest. If you go look at the property, it's got a sewer line running right through the middle of it. It's half underwater. There's no way it's worth any value, of any real value. So, but
And I have no idea what, you know, what the cost would be to even get it appraised, but that's where I left things. So
Right.
if you want to touch base. and
I
put it
will.
on the
We'll
agenda.
have two write-offs. He can pay for the appraisal and write it off, and write off the gift. All right, that's all the department heads. We got a young lady tonight. We've got citizen comments, and ladies first, and we'll open it up. Ms. Carr has already
Yes, sir.
tapped me
Thank you.
before the meeting.
Huh? Yes, I did, didn't I? Caught you. I want to share some good news with all of you
All right.
for Operation Early Intervention. We're starting out the new year with a little bit of extra money to use for our program.
Good, good, good.
And let me put it together. So, Operation Early Intervention, of course, has been awarded $100,000 through a VOCA grant. It's a Victims of Crimes Advocacy Grant. This is a pilot program for juvenile justice. And Jones and Richmond County were the only two in Georgia that received the grant. So we're very
Congratulations.
excited about that. There's a couple of different aspects for the grant that I just wanted to, let you know about. First of all, we'll use part of this money along with existing funds to have trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy available for some of our delinquent youth who have received charges. That will be administered by Family Counseling Center, who we already have an agreement with, have an MOU signed for this contract as well. Then it will also be used for a Sources of Strength program that we hope to implement not only with our juvenile kids, but with middle and high school students as well. And then we've got some trauma-focused education for some of the community as well. So there's several different aspects. It was a very quick turnaround. We were actually notified right before Christmas, so that we have the money. So I'm just excited that this is here and available for us. And actually, with our first juvenile court session this morning for the new year, we had 3 referrals to start in. So okay.
Good. Good job.
Yeah, absolutely. On a second note for Operation Early Intervention, we wrapped up Toys for Tots. Thanks, Matt, for the tables and for the help storing everything back at Cadence Bank. We served 1,501 children through Jones and Baldwin County. We collected over 4,200 toys this year. So thank y'all for your support, for the community support and all of that. It's a lot of fun. So, any questions?
Quickly,
Yes.
is it possible, and you tell me, expunge records, can that be a goal as well? Because if children have been charged, I know a lot of times they're sealed, but I don't know what that means if they transition while they're in the program from a child to an adult? And then next, can we connect to workforce development to leverage some of those dollars for GED certification, truck driving, et cetera?
We can now, and correct me if I'm wrong, as far as the expungement, I mean, at 17, they're sealed.
We can't, no one can get a hold of those records anyway, and either they're going through the juvenile court system, and what happens is sealed,
Good.
or they're going through Superior Court, and you're in a whole nother ballgame, so that's really not.
Great. Just wanted
Right.
to make sure there wasn't an issue.
Well, and two, this will be very specific for a child who has received charges, but based on the screeners that we use to determine whether or not they've been a victim of abuse, of neglect, of any sort of trauma then. I mean, it could be the loss of someone significant in their life, anything like that that could trigger behaviors
Right, and that was
at
the
this
main
age.
reason for the
Right.
question, because a lot of times they're reacting to
Right.
a situation. And I deal with
Exactly.
that after school all day.
Exactly.
We're in front of a judge, and it's one of those tough decisions, but knowing that
Exactly.
they're not penalized by that tough decision at the time
Right.
of the crisis.
Well, and not every child will qualify for the service, but through OEI, then we have those other resources that we
Excellent.
always are referring out to. So this is just another tool in the tool belt.
Excellent.
Okay?
Congratulations.
So, all right. Any other questions?
Good job.
All right, great. Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
I was just gonna say, Chris, and listening to all.
Hey, just come on, just for the record, so we can do it right. Introduce yourself and where your address is.
George Scoville.
Jones County. I was going to just say, in listening to the controversy of the labor talk of the guys working in the holidays and all that stuff, worked in the Kelvin mines for 30 years. We had United Cement Lime Gypsum Workers, our contract with Armstrong Coal, the chalk mines in McIntyre, and many employees. Tommy worked at Huber, but ours was just cut and dried. A holiday counts as a day's work. So, say for example, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day fell on Thursday and Friday. Employee worked Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That's 24 hours, right? He's off Thursday and Friday, but that still counts. He gets paid, so he gets 40 hours. Now, he gets called in on Saturday, that's time and half. Sunday's double time, but that's just cut and dried, simple piece of cake for us. And I don't see, this, I had another company that I went to work for, and I had to argue them down on that same thing, because we do inventory on Saturday, and we'd be off on right behind Christmas, and they said, well, you got paid already? No, yeah, but I'm having to work Saturday, and somebody else is not having to work Thursday or Friday. They were off, and I was off, but I'm having to work Saturday for nothing. So that's, it's just a piece of cake, cut and dried. A holiday counts as a day worked.
Amen.
That's it.
Simple.
Problem solved.
Hey, thank you for your coming.
We like you.
Anyone else tonight? No one? Commissioner Kitchen, you want to start us off tonight? Commissioner's comment?
Well, since we're on the subject of complaining about things, I had a couple of things, and it has to do with the closures, and we talked about this a couple of months ago. The Christmas Eve and Christmas Day closures of the recycling centers and the New Year's Eve. A lot of complaints, and I'm saying we. I don't think we thought it through, because we, for example, the Upper River Road Center was closed Sunday at 7 o'clock. We opened on Tuesday for 3 hours during a time that nobody's off work, and then we wouldn't have been opened again until Friday. So we were telling people on your Christmas holiday, when everybody's opening gifts and getting all kind of, full trash, we're going 4 full days without opening up anywhere to take your trash. We voted for that. We just didn't think it through. And I asked then, are we making sure we're getting the signs out? Are we letting people know? I get the pictures of the signs that says we're going to be open this day, and we're going to close this day, and we're going to open this day. And they were not right, and so we had a lot of upset people, and I got a lot of phone calls, legitimate complaints. And I just think, and I looked at our website, and I couldn't get anything even close to telling me what days we were going to be open or closed during the holidays. So and I know we're going through some stuff with our websites and all that. So I say all that to just say that we need to do a better job of making sure that the public knows when we're closed. I had complaints that they come up here the day after Christmas on the Thursday that we knew were off. Website said the government center was open. No signs, doors were closed, lights are out, no cars in the parking lot. Drove all the way up here to get a tag. Tag office not open. So we just need to do a better job of that. Flip side of that, I've gotten some discussions about some of our residents and how they spoke to our employees at the recycling centers. I just wished I could have found out the names of them, because I would have given them a personal call or a personal visit, because and I explained to them what to do if that happens again. You shut the gate and call the sheriff. We don't need to put up with anybody talking to our employees the way those were talked to, and it's not their fault that we dropped the ball on it, and that's unfortunate. But shame on our residents for doing that. Shame on us for not getting the word out, and I'll take that. So, with that, Happy New Year to everybody, and let's do better this year.
Every time we close, there's signs all over the doors, just to let you know.
Of this,
Yes.
okay. Well, we had signs on the doors the day after.
Yes, for the whole time we were closed.
Okay. 'Cause these people said they came up and the doors were shut and no signage. So I didn't come up here and check.
I watched one park out in the parking lot, the only car I didn't walk all the way up to the door.
Was that me?
Is that when I got the call from you? Why aren't we open? Commissioner Pittman?
So I don't have as much bad news as Sam does, but I did get the same concerns about the convenience centers. It was a great time for the employees, but I think we mentioned it was closing at 12 and then closing at 10, and some people had planned on taking the trash to drop it off at 12, but once we closed at 10, they're just not informed, so that's something that we just have to look at doing better. So please forgive us for that. And on another note, so I got some news to share with the litter committee that we have in place. And I shared with Commissioner Kitchens a while back. I was in Monroe County not too long ago, and then in Valdosta, where like the county trucks, they have something on the back that says "Don't litter." So as they ride around the community, making sure that people are aware of the importance of not littering. And I also saw something in Valdosta about it. So maybe we can reach out to Monroe County and Valdosta to find out what they do with their litter committee to try to help curb the litter in their community. The other thing I wanted to talk to the board, and I spoke with Jason and Shannon, ACCG has an upcoming Excellence Award. And I want us to apply for our telemedicine room that's at the health department, to at least nominate it. And you can nominate at least 2 different things that's going on in your community for one of those excellent awards. So I wanted to make sure the board knew that I asked them about it, and I hope they are, pursuing that, because I think it's due the first part of February. So that's something I want the board to be aware of. And then my final thing is it's a little bit of a birthday present for our Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. James Collins. He came before us a couple of months ago, raising funds and trying to raise awareness to do a fence around the inclusive playground. And the JACOR Foundation was awarded a $9,000 grant to make improvements around the inclusive playground, which includes a fence. So with those funds, we'll be putting a fence around the inclusive playground to help out those kids that have autism and make sure they can stay in a safe area while their kids are playing, and the families can feel safe to let their kids just run and play without being stressed about trying to run behind them, being the concern of the running in the road or running into the woods. So I wanted to share that birthday present with you this evening. So we'll be moving forward that project once we complete the restroom, and we'll get the fence up, and the kids can enjoy the park even more.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And that's it, Mr. Chairman.
That's good. Commissioner Robinson?
As far as the convenience centers, I think this is our fault too, but we need to put some money into the signs that we have, where the operators put on there what time they'll be closed and what day, because the center I'm familiar with, the sign is no bigger than like a real estate sign. So, I mean, if you go in there pretty regular, you don't even look at the sign, it's just part of the landscape. I think that would help to have better signs.
And the wordage on it too, because you got to sit there and start thinking about it. You go, okay, it's got Monday, I think it needs to be like Monday, like a store does, Monday through a week, and have the, individual days petitioned off rather than the way they've got them now, because you can get confused.
Sure can.
I'm taking it you've been confused by that.
I've just
Maybe once or
been
twice.
told they get confused about it. How's that? I too got a number of calls. And told them, please don't put, they said, can we leave it outside the gate, please?
And I think a big step, for the board and for the county will be that, vehicle replacement, schedule. And there should be maintenance records on every vehicle that the county owns. When the oil was changed, when the tires were rotated, it should be a detailed, maintenance schedule. And if we don't have those, then we should have. And if we don't have them, we need to start that detailed list of, maintenance. And I believe, well, like I said about John's fleet, he's got some vehicles that are in really bad shape too. And, I'm not saying that Jeffrey doesn't, but we need to know, you know, we need to be able to look ahead and see this truck, that car is gonna need to be replaced before long. And if a quart of oil goes into one, it needs to be a record of it. So, but I think that'd be a big step for us.
Mr. Martin?
Mr. Chairman, I probably was like the citizen that came up, because I drove up to the convenience center and forgot that it was closed, and I turned back around with my trash, and I brought it back home and realized that I didn't even look at the sign out there to see that it was closed. So I do agree that communication is as best as we can. Let's update that. Some of the convenience clerks have talked about signage not only around the park, the convenience center, but actually on the cans themselves as well, because once you get in there, some of them are not as clearly labeled as others. So website-wise, if we have a scrolling banner when we're going to have an outage too, that directs, I think, our citizens' attention to something specific so they can see what's going on. And then also with the recycling centers, I would appreciate a sign that provides a phone number for citizens to call to complain or address issues with. I really don't want them dealing with our employees there, because it's really not the employee that caused the issue. It's either us or John, or somebody that works for John, right? So, you know, and I'm,
They got mine, trust me.
Mine too.
you know, and I'm thankful that my citizens did not complain. I guess they got the word out, or they just held their trash for those 4 days. I don't know. It was such a beautiful time. I think people were busy during Christmas enjoying that, so it wasn't such an issue. But I would love that there was a directive. Yeah. And we actually have, I'm not volunteering this, but I'm just suggesting this. We each have a recycling center in our district. Put our phone number there. They got an issue, right, Chairman? Let them call us, and we can handle and fill it as best we can. Really, I'd prefer it to go to the sanitation department because they know what's going on. We're just going to say, hold on, we'll get back to you. But again, a directive so people don't get engaged, because our workers out there have enough to deal with as it is, you know. So, Mr. Skoll, I appreciate you coming up and addressing that. I think our policies should be simple and clear, and I'm sure we'll get there. Shannon and Jason are going to work to that effort, but it's nice to know that there are simple ways to do this, because I want our employees to be well taken care of, because the intent was for them to enjoy their time off and be compensated appropriately. Also, circling back, we talked about blight and minimum housing standards, and that meeting 14th, okay, next week. Excellent. So I'm glad that that's happening, because I know we had that on the burner for a while. Slow burner, like crock pot. And make sure that we really keep those issues separate, because I know that, you know, it's a point of contention for all of us. I've received a couple calls on 49, specifically about a particular vendor. The citizens did not want to come forward as to say who they are, what they are, but they are addressing a particular vendor, and I think you've received a call about a bunch of metal in somebody's yard. Right, and I think she's called you as well, so wants some feedback, because she thinks the world of all of us, just wants some action on it, so I told her I'd mention it tonight.
I've been talking to her.
Absolutely, me too. Every 30 seconds I can get 4 minutes, I get a 30-second word in. All right.
Sweet as can be, though.
Oh, amazing. And again, I don't mean any harm to the Board of Ed. There are specific projects that we do have, needs that I think the county can address in our area that won't obligate track funds. And I think with that being said, if we can work to make sure that those items get done, all of our citizens use the school system, and we fully support it, but we want to make sure that our needs are met as well. So, thank you all very much, and appreciate everything that our employees are doing out there.
Is there any more business tonight? Mr. Commissioner Pitts, I need your help.
Mr. Chairman, make the motion that we adjourn.
I have a motion, we have a second?
Aye.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Second and
Thank
aye.
everybody for coming. Love to see